Good day, and what an auspicious day. I decided to pull back the vinyl on the last remaining vinyl bed and see what was underneath. And yeah, I think we can see, just coming in a bit closer, loads of bindweed, which, you know what, is exactly what I expected. And I think it's exactly what we should have expected, because we knew that underneath the vinyl things did grow. There was still that bit of light getting through, and you can see how green some of that bindweed is, even though one of the layers here is sort of like a double layer of vinyl. But yeah, at least now we know what we've got to deal with. I think what I'm going to do is leave this area here. In fact, I might even put cardboard down on this area here, and then you can't see the edge, or you can just about see the brick edging. I think I'll take the brick, or I won't take the brick edging, but I'll take the line of bricks out, which will take me just to the left of the grass, which is 2/3 the way across from the left at the top. I think that's a sensible thing to do, because it'd be quite good to have this as some type of working area at the moment, I think, and also an area to better get to the compost bins. Maybe I could reset the compost bins in a different way going forward. But yeah, look at that bindweed. Hey ho, that's what we expected, bit by bit. I have put a bamboo cane in just as a marker for the area that we're initially going to work up to. As I say, we'll do it bit by bit. But the ground is really dry, which is not a surprise, because it's been covered in tarp. So that's not a surprise at all, or vinyl, a vinyl banner. Of course, I was saying early on in the year that we seem to have less red ants on our plot than previous years. I now know that the reason is because they've moved to this area here where the ground is drier, because there's plenty of red ants' nests around that I have disturbed. But anyway, I'm just going to turn over this soil and see how deep the weed goes. Of course, we have plastic as well. More plastic. Yeah, maybe not as bad as I expected. It's decent soil. But yeah, big bits of bindweed root. So I forked over that bit. And to be fair, there was, I mean, there's some really chunky bits of bindweed root. I mean, look at that. And some really old bindweed root there, which is like a metre or more long. But in this area, there were big bits rather than small bits, which I must say, I'm much happier to have big bits in here than small bits. I'm in two minds at the moment whether I leave this open to the elements or put the tarp back or put the banners back. So I think what I'm going to do is just lay the banners back over, and I can think about that another day. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Just lay the banners back over. Well, there we are. The final vinyl bed has had its work begun upon it, and I'm really pleased. It's one of those jobs that I think I've been subconsciously putting off for some time. It's been easy to put it off because there have been other priorities that I needed to get on with. Though I think now, this week, as we come up to the beginning of July, there's a few pockets of time that I have and that are not going to be about getting things in, because we really did so much of that last week. So I will have pockets of time to be able to spend, I don't know, maybe an hour over, you know, the next, maybe an hour twice a week over the next 4 weeks to get that bed done by the end of July. I'd be quite happy to have that finished by the end of July, definitely. The soil is easier to work than I thought it was going to be. That's obviously because it's lighter, because we haven't, because of the vinyl, not a lot of water has got down in there. I think also having had the vinyl down for 18 months or so, as I think it is, that has meant that the weeds that have been under there, a lot of them have died off. Clearly, some of the bindweed hasn't. Clearly, as I was sifting through some weeds, there's still sankfoil in there, and we know what a bane sankfoil can be. There's a little bit of couch grass around the edges, but there doesn't seem to be any couch grass in the body of that block that I have taken up. It's just been around the edges. I've been bitten a couple of times by red ants, so I've got little itches at the moment, which is really annoying. But yeah, really pleased to have started on that bed. And as I say, if I take maybe a couple of hours, a couple of hour sessions each week, then I'll get that bed done by the end of July, which for me is soon enough and an achievement. Plenty of other things to do. You know, as I said yesterday, I've got to get the brassicas in this week, or the remaining brassicas in this week. I need to lift the nets on the Brussels sprouts, because the Brussels sprouts, with all this rain that we've had, they're really going for it. So I need to lift the netting. We'll talk a little bit about cabbage white butterflies and brassicas maybe later on this week. So yeah, what's that fly? Yeah, there seems to be quite a lot of flies around today. But we did have so much rain yesterday. Later in the day for us in West London. I think it was sort of, I can't even remember when it started, but it seemed to have been late afternoon or around 7 o'clock, something like that. But boy, then around sort of 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it was just bucketing it down. It really, really was. I said to Richard, it's like a monsoon out there. Though in reality, I don't think I've ever experienced a monsoon. In Bali, we had heavy rain showers when we were in Bali, which was a long time ago. That was about, gosh, when was that? 10, 11 years ago, something like that. So we did have a lot of heavy rain showers then, but I'm not sure if they're monsoons. I think the closest I've ever got to a monsoon was most probably in Carry On Doctor, when Sidney James is on that island and he has that elixir for losing weight, and there's lots of monsoon showers going on. But yeah, I could do with some of that elixir. Though I have to say, exercise and eating less, that's how you lose weight. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for this Monday segment of A Week at the Plot. And I'll be back with you very soon for something else. Or maybe just sitting and thinking. See you again soon. Bye. Good day and welcome to a rather wet Tuesday afternoon on the plot. It's beginning to dry up a bit now, or it's easing off. You can most probably hear that there isn't any pattering on the roof of the shed. I needed to drop a parcel off to a local shop to send off to somebody, and I thought I'd do a round trip of going to that shop, then coming down to the allotment, and then going home and doing some work at my desk. I had a desk day this morning, well, actually up to about 2 o'clock. I had a work desk time, and I've got that scheduled again for tomorrow. And I think what I'm going to do is not do what I planned to do today, which is weeding, because I don't like weeding in the rain. So I'm going to bring forward what I plan to do tomorrow to this afternoon and cut short this visit to the plot today so that I can hopefully, with the weather being a bit different, have a good day tomorrow down here, because I'd love to crack on with some more of that perennial bed, fingers crossed. I mean, this is typical British weather. This is a typical British summer. We do, however, seem to be going through quite a cold snap at the moment, a colder and wetter snap than normal. I mean, as a kid, you know, I remember having really hot days, but then we'd have downpours of rain, but then it would sort of pick up and then be really, really sunny again. We seem to be going through a spell, having just gone over midsummer, we seem to be going through a spell of rather low pressure, which is hanging around, and that's giving us this colder, wetter weather for a more prolonged period of time than usual. Hopefully by the end of the weekend things will start picking up, and the heat will start picking up as well. I'm also so glad I harvested that garlic when I did, because yeah, you know, that white rot would have only got worse in the porcelain music that we had, and of course that would further affect the soil. So I'm not going to do the weeding today, so I've decided to switch things around. As you know, I don't normally plan what I'm going to do for each segment of A Week at the Plot until I get down here. I have an idea of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things that I want to do over the coming weeks, but I don't have a plan of Monday I'll do this, Tuesday I'll do that, Wednesday I'll do that, Saturday I'll do that. That's not what I do. So I'm changing today. I won't be doing the weeding because it's still drizzling out there and I don't want to get wet. So I thought I'd just have a little bit of coffee chaff chat with you. Now, many of you will have read, and some of you may have even tried out, putting coffee grounds, used coffee grounds, into compost. We put it into our compost. We don't have that much real coffee, but when we do have coffee, I will put it into our compost bin, as we put our tea leaves into our compost bin. Personally, I don't put it onto the ground because I know that there's going to be levels of caffeine in there, and those levels of caffeine will stunt growth. There's a growth retardant in caffeine, and it will stunt growth of plants. So the last thing that you want to do when you're trying to boost the energy of your plants to get them growing is put a mulch on top, which is actually going to stunt them. Also, some people say that it helps to keep snails off, you know, same as eggshells. So many trials have been done that disprove those two notions. So yeah, the best place for your coffee grounds in smaller amounts, not in large amounts, in smaller amounts, is in your compost bin. If you're using a lot of coffee grounds, then see if you can dispose of them another way, maybe in your household food waste that gets taken away by the council. But coffee chaff, it's not something that everyone knows about. This is it. It looks a bit like sort of bran, and it's incredibly light. I was holding my breath then. It is so light. The last thing you want to do with this is give it a really big sniff, because giving a really big sniff could take this down into your throat and potentially into your lungs, which you do not want to do. It has a faint aroma of coffee, not surprisingly, because it is a byproduct of the coffee roasting process. So Coffee Chaff is the outer husk of a coffee bean. And during the roasting process, where there's a lot of heat and a lot of tumbling, this gets taken out as a byproduct. And there aren't that many uses for it. And we've got a local coffee roaster to us who gets rid of several big sacks of this every couple of weeks. And we take it here and we distribute it to the people on the site who are composting quite a bit. You don't want to use a lot of it in your compost in one go, because it does get quite slimy, but it's high in nitrogen, so it's a good coffee activator. A bit like chicken manure pellets, though chicken manure pellets is obviously a better activator because it's got lots of other things in it as well. But it's a good thing. It's a byproduct, and if we can compost it and then it gets added to our soil, you know, that's really, really good. And being the outer husk of the coffee bean, there's hardly any caffeine in it either. So that's good to know. So yes, we get that and we distribute it around the plot, as I say. I have taken a few handfuls and put it into water. Just hang on one second. Somebody just wanted to ask me a question then, so I broke off. Yeah, I put a few handfuls into water, maybe 4 handfuls, in fact, into a litre of water. And I'm going to do a sort of soil test on that to see how much nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium is in that, because I'm wondering whether it would be good to be used as a nitrogen feed. So we'll see that. I'll work that out in a couple of days. But if you can get your hands on this coffee chaff, then do. You know, it's given away for free. I mean, certainly we get it for free. It's a waste product, a waste byproduct, and it's good to put into your compost bin. I wouldn't use it on the soil because it can get quite slimy. And of course, you know, the last thing that we want is those other slimy creatures finding a slimy bed and thinking, lovely. So maybe not to be used as a mulch. I think what I will do with the perennial bed, because there's going to be quite a lot of nitrogen hungry plants in that perennial bed, because we're going to have kales in there and we're going to have rhubarb in there and other things, I think I will, once I've turned the whole area over, scatter a good few handfuls of this over that area and then fork it in. Not leave it on top, but fork it in. And then hopefully, with allowing rain to get in, when we do allow rain to get into that area, that will then help sort of break down these bits of coffee chaff and add nitrogen to the soil a bit down below. I'll most probably scatter chicken manure pellets as well, so doubling up on the nitrogen. Anyway, that's it for today. I can't speak. That's it for today. A little bit of coffee chaff chat, as I said. It's eased off enough now for me to close up the polytunnel and go home without getting too wet again. So I'm going to do that, and I'll see you another day for another segment of A Week at the Plot. Bye. Good day. I've been doing tomato cares this afternoon, making sure that the line, the twine, is being wound around the tomatoes to keep them as upright as possible, and also taking out side shoots. I mean, as I've said before, this tomato cares time, and any tinker time as we call it, is great to understand how your plants are growing by getting up close and personal with them. And it's interesting for me that these at the front here, which are Amish sherbet, are far, far stronger than those on the other side, far bigger, in fact, than those on the other side, which are our Amish paste, which, as you know, we grow year on year. And then over here, we have mainly red oxheart, which again are really going from strength to strength. This side, I think, is most probably, these are about 3 foot now, whilst over there, they're most probably about 2 foot in general. And over here on the Amish sherbet, look, we've got flowers. Can you see that? There's another one just there. More flowering here. Have we got any on here yet? Maybe not. Oh no, we got one there, one just there. And what I have noticed, and I remember this happened last year with the red oxheart, is that the crown has actually split in two on most of them. So it's not a side shoot growing, though we have been taking them off. It's actually the crown. So this is the crown up here, and when the crown was down here, it split into two. And I'm letting both of those grow because that's what I did last year. Maybe that's why this year these have got a propensity to split at the crown, because maybe the tomato that I saved from what I thought was the strongest plant, maybe that crown had split. But what I'm wondering is side shoots. I've taken off so many side shoots again today, so many. Where I've taken them off before, they've regrown. And I'm wondering, because we're saving our own seed, whether that is bringing about a propensity to throw out side shoots. If it is, it's not a problem. We remove them. But I'm wondering, is with the fresh seed that one buys, has that been inbred, even if not genetically? I mean, naturally, genetically, it will have done. But maybe they've been bred in a way that the propensity to throw out side shoots has been reduced. I don't know. That's something I'm going to have to look into more. And in the middle over there, you can see right in the middle now, that little volunteer, which is looking extremely strong. No idea what that is. I sort of hope it's a mille fleur, but who knows. Really pleased to see the blueberries fattening up. I'm going to have to net those. I'll most probably do that tomorrow. And another sight that I'm really pleased to see. Gosh, so much weeding and tidying to do. But looky here. All of our goosey gogs looking really, really good. We've got quite a few pounds in there, and I think I'm going to be harvesting those tomorrow. Most probably to put in the freezer for making jam at a later date. Oh, I've just noticed we've got a little freesia still here coming. And the goosey gog next to it is a red one. I'm not sure. Can you see in here? Just there. There's a red one coming. So they're beginning to ripen, which is fab. But we really need to get strimming and weeding. That rain that we've had and this humidity is really getting the weeds growing, as well as the tomatoes and the goosey gogs. Right, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see you soon for another A Week at the Plot. Bye. Good day. I'm in the shed, but I still am squinting because of the bright sun, which is obviously coming in the roof. I didn't bring my new sun hat down, and I should have done. I will do that another day. It's 34, 35 degrees in the shed at the moment. One says 34.5, the other says 35.1. That's actually to do with the different positioning of the two of them, because the one that's saying 35.1, 35.2 now, the top of it is just actually in a bit of sunshine, so I think that's lifting that temperature a little. You can hear some noise going on at some builders, some building work going on, but actually today for me has been a mechanical noise day with strimming. It's been a scratchy noise day with raking up the grass from the strimming, and it's been a quiet time with doing some seed sowing. The seed sowing that I was doing was actually Rocquencourt that Vivi gave us last week. We meant to sow it together, but we didn't have time to do that. It's got rock chick on it. And yeah, so it was nice to just have a little bit of quiet time. I tickled the soil over and I re-sowed the Rocquencourt. We've only got about 2 plants in that area from the seed that we had and that we sowed about 6 weeks ago. So I'm hoping that Vivi's will do what hers have done, which is just grow. The grass was quite long. The wet weather that we've had, the warm weather that we've had has really helped grass and weeds grow. It's helped plants as well, yes, but the weeds and the grass really like the weather that we've had. So where I have strimmed, it actually all needs another strim. However, when you do strim, you most probably find, like me, that some areas of grass flatten out rather than being strimmed. So what I'll be doing early next week is I will be giving the whole plot another strim. That will give time for all of that grass to start growing and become vertical again, so that it's nice and erect, so that when I go in with the strimmer, it will just cut it all back again, just like it's done this morning. The strimmings, the bits of strimmings have been raked up, as you saw. They've gone into our hot bin composter. It's fine for us here to put most of what we've got, most of what I've raked, into a compost bin. But because I put all of our rakings together, there's some sankfoil that will have been strimmed. So I put all that into our hot bin composter, which at the moment is sitting at 52 degrees. I reckon with all the grass I've put in there, that nitrogen will really get that hot bin going and will be hitting 70 degrees by tomorrow, fingers crossed. And that will kill all of the sankfoil and any seeds that are in there. So yeah, that's it for today. Strimming, raking, composting, sowing, watering, sitting. That's it. There are a few things I'm going to get on with now, but you'll see those another day for another segment of A Week at the Plot. See you soon. Bye. Gosh, it's so bright. I must remember to bring my hat down. I must. Or should I leave it down here? Let's think about that. Bye. Good day. Though this actually follows on from the segment before, because it's still Wednesday morning. You can most probably hear the work from the building over there still going on in the background. But last week I was talking about something, and I was talking about it in a very sort of prideful manner, I think it's fair to say. And what is the old adage? Pride comes before a fall. And certainly these are beginning to fall. Actually, if I was doing this as a standalone clip, I should have a sad face. There we are. There's my sad face. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Our Mangetout. That wet weather and the humid weather has really made them go rampant, and we haven't kept up with the picking. And they have virtually all gone over. This is our train driver mountain range, which you can see is pretty yellow. It's beginning to die back. We've had quite a few good pickings from it, but since we got back from Wales, we haven't really kept on top of it. And you can see how they're all too big to eat. But you know what? That's not a problem. I was going to say it's not a worry. It's not a problem, because this is going to be fantastic for saving seed. And for maybe six people in the UK, I'll be able to send some seed for next year, for growing next year, because all of this now I'm just going to leave to go to seed. Then if we move back, even with our greener one here, these are Oregon sugar pod. These again have largely all gone over. If you carry on picking, they will carry on growing. But I find that as soon as they've thought, hang on, we've made enough seed for next year, they stop putting energy into growing and start putting all the energy into actually producing the seed and maturing the seed in the pod, which is of course what it's going to do. I mean, that's what plants do. Then if we come around, similar has happened with our, oh, what are they called? The Indian variety. Golden sweet. I'll put the variety below. But yeah, similar has happened here. And these pods are really fattening up, you can see. And then our Mr. Bethel's purple podded, actually, as a Mangetout, they're not great. But as a pea in salads, they're absolutely lovely. Again, they're sort of going over. In fact, I can see that pod there. Can you see it splitting? Look. Is that splitting, or is it because a slug or snail has got up there and eaten it? But yeah, Mr. Bethel's purple podded. Would I grow it again? Not sure. I love peas, but I find frozen peas just rather nice anyway. Maybe I would just for the colour, but I haven't found them particularly prolific either. Unlike, as you can see, the golden sweet here. Yes, that's what it's called, golden sweet, which is really prolific. And just got caught on a broad bean. The Train Driver Mountain Range, really prolific as well, as is the Oregon Sugar Pod. We do have another variety, Caribe du Moussin, and that has done okay. It's actually further up on the plot, but I didn't feel that the pods, the Mangetout pods, really tasted of anything. So we're certainly not going to save seeds from that to grow next year. So what are we going to be growing next year? Definitely Train Driver Mountain Range, definitely Golden Sweet. Oregon Sugar Pod, yes, I think so. Caribe du Moussin, no. Mr. Bethel's purple podded, possibly. The other thing, of course, is as well as saving the seed from these, the dried seed can also be used in soups and stews by being rehydrated and cooked. So even though these are going to seed now, they will dry. We'll be able to use the dried seed in two ways, one to save for growing next year and one to use in soups and stews. So actually, it's not a sad face. It's actually quite a happy face. With all of our harvests, with all of the plants that we grow, they have a lifetime. And the lifetime of our Mangetout here, this year, is coming to an end. If we keep on top of it a bit better next year, maybe we can prolong the life well into mid-July or even the end of July. Time will tell. Right, with no sad face at all, I'll see you again very soon. Bye. Good day. The astute of you, which I'm sure is all of you, will have noticed I'm not at the plot. We've had a couple of nights away with family, and that is talked a little bit about in Sunday chat. But because of that, we drove back today, Sunday, and the drive was quite arduous. There was a lot of traffic. There was a lot of bunched up traffic as well. And there was also some really heavy downpours as we were driving back. So it was quite an arduous drive, a tiring drive. So it being about 8 o'clock now, I don't really have the energy or the inclination to pop down to the plot and see how things have done with the torrential rain that we seem to have had all over the UK. That can wait till tomorrow. So I just thought I'd pop on here now and close off this week's A Week at the Plot. You will have seen me talking about Mangetout in the last segment, so I won't go over that. One thing that we have done growing wise or relating to growing is on our way back today, we popped into the Tittington Smythes. I had grown a number of rhubarb plants from seed, and I had 2 plants that I wanted to give to the Tittington Smythes so that they could actually harvest rhubarb from their courtyard garden on their estate outside their kitchen door. So they won't have to get any groundsmen to go and do harvesting. They'll be able to pick direct from their door, which is really great. So we popped in and gave them those 2 plants. One is variety Victoria, the other is variety Champagne. So one is quite red and the other one's a bit pinky. So, you know, that's quite a nice mix for them to have. They've sent us photos of them already planted, so we know that they're already snuggled up in their beds. So we hope that they're going to grow really, really well. And what does this week bring? Well, with the wet weather, I'm really not quite sure down at the plot. Those slugs and snails will have been out, but let's leave that till tomorrow and we'll have a look tomorrow. One other thing I need to do is the July tour. I can't believe it's July already. We said, where did April go? We said, where did May go? And now I'm saying, where did June go? You know, there we are. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here now, and I will see you again very soon for another new week of A Week at the Plot. Bye.